a soul-led desire, it's given to you. Yes, it lights you up. There's an excitement there, but there's no clinging. There's no attachment. There's no needing it to fulfill you. Welcome to the Miracle Frequency Podcast. I'm Susan Francis. Welcome back to the Miracle Frequency. So today we're going to go deep into desire, the truth about desires. Because here's the thing, in the spiritual community, there's a lot of talk about releasing desires, releasing external desires, because the chasing of external things, right, possessions, people, places, experiences, is ego-driven. Or at least that is what is spoken about in the spiritual community, that often chasing desires is led by the ego. And when we choose a spiritual path, it's about releasing attachment to the ego. However, in the manifestation world, desires is talked about a lot. Choose your desire and then align your energy and clear resistance, right? Get very, very clear on your desire and then align with it, right? Align with it, take inspired action. And I have taught this too. Now, I've also taught and talked about in the past how to know if a desire is led from ego or soul. And my understanding and awareness of this has evolved somewhat over the years. So here is my perspective. Here is my perspective and what I deeply believe to be the truth about desires. So desires, as all things on this planet, are neither inherently good or bad. But what I call true desires or soul desires are given to you. They are given to you. Now, so let's talk about ego versus soul desires, because I believe there is a very big distinction between them. Okay, so when we have an ego desire, or a desire, you could say, stemming from lack, it is about chasing something external to fulfill a need, to fulfill a feeling. So for example, I want to manifest a certain amount of money or a certain home or a certain car or certain possessions, right? Chasing after those things because, and this is the truth, I mean, this is undeniable, you believe it will give you a feeling when you achieve it, when you receive it. So if, for example, you are manifesting $1 million, right? You believe that when you receive that $1 million, you will feel freedom, peace, choice, abundant, right? Wealthy, whatever the things are. There are feeling states attached to you seeking that outcome. Now, again, if you're wanting to manifest a particular car or a sports car, again, it's because of the belief that of what you feel it will give you, right? The feeling state. So maybe, again, you believe that you'll feel wealthy or important, or I don't really design sports cars, so I don't really relate to the things that you believe it'll give you. But, you know, even with, let's say, a relationship, let's say you want to manifest a partner, right? A husband, a wife, whatever the thing is. It's because you believe that when you do, you'll feel loved, whole, complete, have companionship, right? So what I want you to understand is that all desires that I would say are ego desires are because you believe it's going to give you a feeling state. It's seeking something external because you are chasing the feeling state that you believe it's going to give you. Okay, so any desire that there's any sort of attachment to, any desire that you're deliberately trying to align to, I believe is coming from ego. right? It's coming from what I call the false self, the personal self, because it's the personal self chasing something because it believes it will give it a certain feeling state, right? And I've taught manifestation this way before, and it works, right? I can help you clear resistance. I can help you manifest stuff for sure. I've helped many, many clients do this before, but I still ultimately believe my new awareness over the last few years is that most of these desires that we're clearing resistance to are things that the personal self or ego are chasing because it's seeking a feeling state. It believes it's going to feel better in the having of the desire, okay? And all of those really come from the ego. They come from not feeling enough right now, not feeling whole, complete enough in this moment, and believing that when you get the thing, whatever it is, person, place, external thing, experience, that you will feel better in the having of it. So it's any desire where there is an attachment to that outcome, there is an attachment to having it, there's a longing, a wanting over that desire, that comes from ego or the false self. So here's what I believe a purely soul-led desire is. A soul-led desire is given to you. It's given to you, and there's no attachment to it, right? There's no attachment to it. So it's something that might excite you, but you don't need it to be complete, right? You don't need it to be complete. Or a pure soul-led desire is something that sort of comes out of the blue and, like I said, is sort of given to you, and it's not something that was in your awareness before at all, right? It's not something that was in your awareness before at all, and it's not something that you've sort of been lusting, longing after. So let me give you some examples. One example for me is that I never wanted children, right? In my 20s, even in my early 30s, I never wanted children. And then when I manifested my partner, which I'll also just share that story in a second, when I met him, he already had a 2-year-old daughter, and I saw how loving and supportive and, involved he was in his daughter's life. And it just shifted my beliefs around children. And then I got to this place where I was like, okay, maybe I'd be open to having a child. Now, having a child has been my life's biggest source of joy. Like, having her, she is truly a gift. I call her my angel. Like, she guides me, she teaches me, she has helped me expand in so many ways. She's taught me, absolute unconditional love. Like, there are so many things that she has given me. So she has absolutely been, if you want to call it, my life's greatest manifestation. And it's something that I never thought I even wanted, right? So let's even talk about my partner, manifesting my partner. Now, for years and years and years, in my late 20s, early 30s, I kind of had this, belief there were no good men out there. They were all losers. I'm not even going to go into the whole story. But what happened was I got to this point where I let go of I had this little internal chat with myself, and I let go of some limiting beliefs, these stories that I had about men, that there were no good ones out there. And perhaps also things like I wasn't worthy of love. And, I just had this little chat to myself. I was like, come on. You're an attractive, successful, kind, loving, funny person. Surely out of 8 billion people, there's got to be one person on this planet that would be an amazing partner for you. And I decided that of course there could be, but also if there wasn't, or if I didn't meet them, or if they didn't meet them for decades, then I was completely fine by myself being single. But what I did was I then made this decision that I was no longer going to put up with I'm just going to call them losers that had been coming into my world, that weren't serious, that only wanted one thing, so I sort of drew this line in the sand, and I was like, yes, I want love. But if it doesn't come, I'm completely happy being single. So when I say a soul desire, and so by the way, I forgot to mention the important part. I manifested my partner within 6 weeks of that. We've been together for 13 years, right? So the key thing about that, though, was that what I call a soul desire is I sort of had this awakening, this awareness around I had been holding on to these limiting patterns, but I also came to this place where it's like, yes, I would love to have a loving partner, a supportive partner, all of those things. But if it doesn't come, right, for whatever reason, I completely accept that I'm whole and complete and enough right now by myself and can have an amazing life as a single woman too, right? And I had that deep peace around it. There was no attachment to it. And so from that place, I was showing up differently. So that's what I call a soul desire. Okay, that's what I call a soul desire. It's when we are deeply at peace and accepting of what is. There can be an excitement for something else, right? This is the thing. When we have a desire that holds some excitement, but there is no attachment to it. There is no attachment to it. When there is a clinging to it, we're resisting what is, we're resisting what is coming to us, and we are seeking completeness, we are seeking wholeness in the external. So a true soul-led desire, I believe, is it's really given to you. There have been other things and great experiences in my life. And this is the thing, when I've reflected, I've realized all the most memorable experiences were truly given to me. So there's another little experience I want to share. I had been in my I want to say around 30-ish, or maybe just before 30, around that time anyway. I had been regularly seeing a personal trainer. I'd lost some weight. I was in really good shape. I was, training 4 or 5 days a week. And so I was very fit and strong and all those things, but I'd never been able to run. And I'd always told myself a story, right? I told myself a story that I couldn't run. And I'd done boot camps and things like that where you'd had to do these short runs, and I always got really puffed out. And so I was sort of strong. I could lift weights and do other things, but I'd never been a runner. Let's just say that. I'd never been a runner. But my personal trainer at this time said, why don't you challenge yourself? Why don't you sign up for a run? And for whatever reason, I was like, all right, yep, I'm up for a challenge. And I signed up for a run, the City to Surf, which is a run in Sydney. It's 14 kilometers and it's very hilly. Now, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is in miles. Maybe it's like 10 miles. I don't know. But it's a very, very hilly run. Like there's a lot of very big hills. And I signed up for that. I think it was 6 months out. And I just decided I was going to do it. And I had this little pep talk with myself. I was like, come on, I can walk, right? I can walk. Plenty of people on the planet run. What is running? Running is literally just moving your legs a little bit faster than walking. So surely I'm fit and strong. Why couldn't I run, right? So I just decided I was going to. And what was so interesting, this is what I believe about soul-led desires, is that when something's truly led by soul, things really line up in an effortless way for us, right? They line up in an effortless way. So once I decided I was going to run and committing to this run, I sort of put the word out there to a few friends. And all of a sudden, I had a group of about 6 or 8 of us that would meet every Saturday and go for a run. Then we'd have breakfast. And it became this really fantastic social thing that I'd look forward to each week, and ran this 14-kilometer run with hills, right, in a great time. And then 6 weeks later ran a half marathon, which is 21 kilometers. So I'm not sure whether there's a mile, you have to convert it. Maybe about 15. Maybe my calculations are way off. I don't know. But the point is that, and actually one of the major things in that time was that my dad was actually dying of cancer. And running, I really feel, I don't want to say saved me, but it was really a part of me being able to process that time. I remember going to the hospice when he was in his last couple of weeks, and we were staying in the hospice, and I went to the gym and I got on the treadmill and I ran for 10 kilometers, and it just helped to process, release emotions, adrenaline. It really helped me through that time. So I truly believe it was my higher self, my soul, giving me that desire, because not only did it know that it was going to, bring so much else to my life and have this challenge and this great experience and this great social connection with friends and stretch me in ways I hadn't before, but it also helped me through one of the most difficult times in my life. So I truly believe that soul-led desires are given to you. They are given to you, and there is no attachment. It's a genuine excitement but also knowing that you're whole and complete right now. So this is the check. This is the check for you. When you think about the thing that you want, right, the desire that you have, why does it matter if it doesn't come? Right? If you find yourself feeling deflated because it hasn't arrived yet, it is because your ego is attaching to it. There is part of the personal self that believes it is not whole and complete right now, and that it's going to get something from this desire that will make it feel whole and complete. So if you want to feel free, if you want to feel safe, if you want to have abundance or love or joy or peace or wealth or whatever the things are, if you want to experience those things and you don't feel them now, you will never feel them, see them in the external either. We cannot complete ourselves from the external. It is always an internal job. And the reason I'm talking about this today is because I was having a bit of a I was last night and this morning, I was falling into some old patterns, right? I have an ego, I have a personal self. And on this journey, I truly believe it's my role on this planet to keep releasing that, keep releasing the parts of that are, we're always going to have an ego or a personal self, but the more and more, because if we didn't, we would just be source, right? The ego and the personal self allow us to actually experience this three-dimensional reality. But the more we let that part of us rule our life, the more misery and suffering we have. So last night and this morning, I fell into what I want to call some old limiting patterns, some attachment to things that I'd been focusing on. And I had this little intuitive pull, go sit down by the river. Not far from where I live, there's this beautiful river. It's so calm and peaceful. And I went down, sat down there for an hour just this morning with my dog, and it just reset everything. It reset everything. It reminded me of all of this, and it helped me to let go of some of the things that I had been attaching to. I realized, because it is easy to fall back into old patterns. I get it, right? So, this podcast, sharing these things, sharing what flows through in these podcasts is honestly as much for me as it is for you, right? As I share these insights, it is me downloading these insights for me and for you, for the collective, right? So it's for all of us. I am not perfect. I am not some perfect being who is so enlightened that I don't have an ego or personal self, or, fall into limiting patterns sometimes, old programs sometimes. But the thing that happens now is that I have a much greater awareness and can pull myself out of things and back into truth a lot faster. And what I've come to realize, like I said, especially over these last few years, is that it is the desires where there is any attachment that are ultimately led from ego and the personal self, or ego, or whatever you want to call it, personal self. It is from that chasing, from that needing something to happen, that is always an ego-led desire. It is because, like I said, you're seeking success, love, joy in something external. And I promise you, your higher self, source, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it knows what is going to bring you the most joy, abundance, fulfillment, peace, all of those juicy things in this lifetime, and it is leading you there. So when a desire is given to you, like I said, there is no attachment. There is no attachment because because that part of you knows you're whole and complete right now already. And so you don't need the thing. You don't need the thing to complete you. You could be, it could be, it'd be amazing to have, it'd be amazing to do, but you don't need it to complete you. Because whenever we have a desire that brings us some feeling that we were wanting to have inside, what happens is as soon as we as soon as we achieve it, receive it, there becomes a clinging. So for example, let's say in your business, you're wanting to manifest or have 50K months, right? Let's say you're at 10, 20K months and you want to get to 50K months. And then you get there, right? Then you get there. Amazing. You manifested the thing. Maybe you cleared all the resistance, you aligned your energy, and now you're at 50K months. But what very quickly happens is you then shift into this state of clinging. What happens? So for a moment, you feel elated, wealthy, successful, joyous, free, whatever the things are. But then not too long after, in the next moment, there becomes what will often rise is a clinging to it. What happens when there's a month that seems to be dipping, that seems to be going backwards, where it seems like nothing's working? Whenever you seek something to complete you, to make you feel whole and complete, there will always be a clinging and a resisting. But when you truly follow soul-led desires that are really meant for you, there is no clinging and resisting. It's a joyous path. It is being led to your highest timeline. And often those things aren't, like I said, what your mind believes will bring you the most joy or success. You know, when I spoke about not wanting children, the reason that I didn't want children was because I had grown up in a household where my mother didn't work. She stayed at home. She raised the family with us 4 kids, and she just spent her whole time cooking, cleaning, driving us around, doing housework. And my dad went to work. He earned the money, and ultimately he made all the decisions. You know, he very much had I love my dad. He's gone now, but he very much had that attitude towards her that, you know, she would not do as she was told, but that he earned the money, so he got to make the decisions, that she was the wife, the housewife, the mother, but she didn't really have a voice, right? She didn't really have a voice in the household. So what I mean by that is she didn't stand up for herself. She didn't really make decisions. He did. And so growing up, I'd created this belief, and I know it's just a story, right? I know that now, but for a lot of my life, I didn't. I just had this belief that I want to be financially independent. I want to have a career. I want to, make my own decisions, have my own money. I never want to have a man control that. And so part of that was I believed that being a mother and having children would give away some of my power. Now, I'm not saying that I believe that now, but I did for a long time, right? So being led to have a child, like I said, that has been the greatest joy of my life. And it's so funny to me now that I believed that having a child was going to be the thing to take away my power. It's been the thing to really empower me, because having a child was the thing that sent me on this journey of becoming an entrepreneur, not wanting to work in the 9 to 5, on a personal development journey and then a spiritual journey. It's what's led me here. If I hadn't had my child, I'm sure I'd still be working 50 hours a week for a company, planning the next holiday, bitching about my boss, never having had the awakening and the awareness that I have. So she has been my savior. So a soul-led desire, it's given to you. Yes, it lights you up. There's an excitement there, but there's no clinging. There's no attachment. There's no needing it to fulfill you, right? There's no needing it to fulfill you. So when you feel whole and complete first in all areas of your life, when you have deep not self-acceptance, but self-acceptance for what is, when you stop resisting this current moment, and continually trying to get somewhere else, that is when you will be led to those things, right? That's when you'll be led to those things. Because the mind, the personal mind, the egoic mind, it wants to plan things out. It wants to map things out. It wants to know the course. But true soul-led desires require surrender. They require living in the unknown, not knowing, allowing things to come to you, having peace in the moment, feeling whole and complete now, because there is nothing external that's going to fulfill any hole inside you. If you want to feel freedom, you need to find it within you now. If you want to feel abundant, you need to find it within you now. If you want to feel loved, you need to find that within you now. There is nothing and there's no one, nothing outside of you that will ever complete you, And like I said, your soul or your higher self, it knows the best way to bring you. We are here to experience things. So your soul, like I said, your higher self, it knows the best way to bring things to you that, like I said, will provide you with the most love or joy or connection or abundance. But it's often not in the form that your mind might think, because your mind is conditioned by the past. It's learned all these lessons, and so it thinks it knows best. Only it doesn't. It's so limited. It has no idea. There is so much magic in allowing yourself to be guided, but it takes deep surrendering, right? It takes deep surrendering, and that is not something that most people are prepared to do because they want to control. And I get it. I think I'll do an episode on this. I have been the biggest control freak. I've been a biggest control freak in my life, so I completely get it. And so it's been a big journey to be able to surrender, and I'm still a work in progress, but I'm on the path. I'm committed to the path, and I know that when I am deeply present in the moment, fully accepting of what is, and led by soul, by source, that is when I experience the most joy. Love you all. Bye for now.